What's up, guys? You're here from Easy Blade. We're back with another haircut tutorial. Now this one is going to be super easy, super clean. This is a skin fade, more on the higher side. I want to say kind of like a high skin fade, mid to high. We're pretty much on the higher side. So the first thing we did was start off with our outliner, and we're going to go all the way around the head and just take, bring it down the skin, because this is a skin fade, and again, more the higher side. And we are going to be combing over the hair using the scissors on top. So what we did here is just making sure that we had that line even all the way around, and we just pretty much took off all the hair on the sides and make sure it was clean. Now at this point of the haircut, I want to go ahead and clear the bulk. So what I did was grab a number 2 guard and started to clear the bulk. Clearing the bulk is extremely important when you're a barber or a new barber. Now you can do this with clipper over comb, but in this particular case, I chose to do it with a guard. It's a lot easier to do it this way, especially if you're starting off. And his hair wasn't long enough, so we really didn't need clipper over comb, but a lot of people might prefer clipper over comb. But in his case, I chose to use a clipper guard. Now you want to make sure that your canvas is nice and flat. And this is why I always debulk the fade and just make sure that I'm working with space, because when you're pretty much fading hair, you want to make sure that you have space. If you start it with the hair bulky, I know a lot of new guys out there probably try to start the fade with a low guard and pretty much try to fade into the bulk, which pretty much, you can make a mistake and have a big line at the top of the head for a lot of you new guys that have that problem. Now right here, we started our first guideline. Now this guideline is the machine all the way open, which is a half, and we pretty much started this as our guideline. Now we have 2 guidelines. We have the skin guideline, and then we have our first guideline, which is going to be a part of our fade, which is the half. And then from there, we're going to work our way from the biggest guard down to the smallest guard, fading out the hair, guys. Now what we did here, because we had a number 2 before, what we did here was drop down to our 1.5. My fade system, the way I fade, is pretty much easy. I've taught a lot of people over the years. I like to work my way down from the biggest guard to the smallest guard. Now, if you guys are confused with the way clipper guards work, just type into your YouTube search engine, Clipper Guards Explained, and I'll explain exactly how clipper guards work and how I work with clipper guards. And I've always felt like working your way from the biggest guard to the smallest guard is the right way to do it when you're first starting out. Now, again, if you're not, if you're already an experienced barber, you can do whatever you want at that point. You can come up with your own system, but I believe, I've taught classes over the years, I believe that fading from the biggest guard to the smallest guard is the way. Now we have our 1.5, and we're doing the same thing. We're flicking our wrist and we're fading into the 2. Now the reason why I believe in this system so much, fading hair from the biggest guard to the clipper to the smallest guard, because there's no room for error, if you ask me. So what we did here is we dropped down to our 1, and we're basically fading up into the 1.5. I feel like when you start with a small guard and fade up, what happens is if you make a mistake, you're gonna have a higher line. Now the way I'm doing it, if you're using a big guard and fading up to the other big guard, then you're not gonna make a mistake, because you have room for error, basically. If you're using a smaller guard and you're fading up, you have no room for error. If you start off with a 1, you start to fade up. If you bring it up too high, you're stuck with a line. Now you can see with our 1 guard, the fade is looking a lot more cleaner. We're flicking our wrists and we're going into it. Flicking the wrist again is key, guys, key. Now I dropped down to my brush, if you guys noticed. We're going to drop down to our half. Now if you remember, the first part of the haircut, the first guideline we did was the half. Now we're fading into that half up to the 1. All right, so we're flicking out that line. And when you flick your wrist, you're bringing the clipper towards you so you won't go higher, okay? So you're flicking the wrist and bringing the machine towards you so you won't bring the line higher. Now, if we would have started off with this guard and we didn't do it correctly, we could have brung that line up too high, and then we would have had, a line in the haircut, a bunch of different lines, and you'd be confused. Like you can see, the haircut is way more structured, and you kind of know exactly what you're doing if you have the basic fundamentals. Again, if you guys are confused, Clipper Guards Explained in your YouTube search engine. All right, flicking that wrist, making sure that everything is clean. Now we're going to take off that guard and we're going to go ahead and attack that skin line. Now what I did to attack the skin line is I closed the machine all the way and I start to attack the skin line. Now we're going to do smaller strokes, and as we get higher, we're going to open that lever. And why are we opening a lever? Because if you remember, that guideline was a half, and that was with the machine all the way open. So every time we get to that area, we want to make sure that that lever is open when we get there. Just making sure it's open is pretty much going to help you without making, you're not gonna make any mistakes if you follow that. Basically, you want to make sure that it's exactly where you put that guideline the first time, and you won't make any mistakes. Here you go again. Make sure the head is tilted. A lot of times in the back of the haircut, for a lot of you new guys, I know sometimes you see a line back there and it seems like it's pretty hard. The problem is you're not putting the customer's head down. If you fade with their head straight up, you're probably gonna have a line in the back of the head. I know a lot of you guys the side of the haircut came out really good, but then when you go to the back of the haircut, it's pretty much a line. I understand, guys. It's because you're not stretching the back of the head. Now, if you notice, a lot of people have skin on the back of the head. You want to make sure that it's faced all the way down. If you look at the side of the head, there's skin on the side of the head, of course, but it's not skin that you need to really stretch. On the back of the head, his particular case is pretty much the back of his head is straight. You don't have to really worry about stretching it too much. But a lot of people have extra skin in the back of their head. So you're gonna have to put their head down, or you're gonna have like a line. It's not gonna look as good as you want it to look. I understand that, because when I first started, you forget to put the head down, and that pretty much, leaves it with a line in the back of the head, and you think there's something wrong with your fading. Okay, at this particular point, I went ahead and grabbed the shaver. I wanna make sure that the head is nice and clean. When you use the shaver, it pretty much makes the haircut pop a lot more. Now, in this particular case, I ended up using a shaver last. Sometimes you could do it in the beginning, but I didn't even I just decided to do it at the end. It doesn't matter when you do it, but you can do it at the beginning just to make it, pop from the beginning. But I did it at the end. You can do it whenever you want. Now I'm going back over it with the outliner just to clean up whatever I did with the shaver. And that's pretty much what we had to do to make it really, really skin and really, really pop out. All right. Flick that wrist, the same thing. You want to make sure that you don't exceed where that outliner was. Now, at this point, he does not like the front of his head shaped up, so we're just shaping up the sides. Now, when you shape up the sides, you can see it makes a big difference in the haircut. It looks nice and clean already, and then we're gonna hit it with the Easy Blade Shave Gel. Then we're gonna go ahead and hit it with a straight razor as well. And that's really gonna make it pop as well. Look at the big difference from just outlining it, guys. You can see the fade haircut really start to stand out. And we're gonna grab some Easy Blade Shave Gel. We're gonna put that on the skin, and then we're gonna use our straight razor just to get that area. These little details, attention to details, will really, really make your customer love you, and they will see the difference in their haircut. And you don't need enhancements, guys. That's the cool part. Use some shave gel, use a straight razor, and get it to where you want it to be. So what we're gonna do here is basically start to trim the top. He only wants a 1/2 inch off. Then we're gonna style it with some Easy Blade hair clay. We're gonna go ahead, trim the top 1/2 inch off, just a little bit, just enough. We're gonna go ahead and apply some hair clay in there, and then we're gonna blow dry it to the side, just so that he walks out the barbershop happy and clean, guys. Very important to make sure that you're styling your customer's hair and making them feel good about themselves when they walk. You want them to feel like it's a haircut, And this is pretty much what we have, guys. If you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Again, Jay here from EasyBladeShavingProducts.com. I will talk to you guys soon.